Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join me as we explore Southwest's lost historical characters, stunning desert vistas, forgotten Native American history, or tales of lost gold mines. There's always something new to discover. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to Southwest Desert, where we explore the mysteries and legends that shape the American Southwest frontier. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a fascinating tale of lost treasure from the Upper San Animas River Valley, a rugged expanse stretching across northern New Mexico and southern Colorado. This isn't just another campfire story or prospector's tall tale. It's a legend that persists to this day among Spanish-American residents of the region, who believe that somewhere in those rugged valleys lies a fortune in buried gold waiting to be rediscovered. Before we begin our tale, let's set the scene. The mid-1800s was a time of tremendous change in the American Southwest. The region was still adjusting to its relatively recent transfer from Mexican to American control. Traditional Native American territories were increasingly under pressure from settlers, trappers, and prospectors. The discovery of gold in California had sparked a fever that spread throughout the West, leading countless men to risk everything in pursuit of instant riches. Our story begins with a French-Canadian trapper named Pierre. Like many of his countrymen, Pierre had worked his way south from Canada, following the beaver populations through the Rocky Mountains. These trappers were remarkable men, skilled wilderness survivors who could read the landscape like a book and navigate territories few white men had ever seen. They were also natural explorers, often the first to discover the resources that would later draw waves of settlers. In the mid-1800s, Pierre had made his way down the spine of the Rockies until he reached Santa Fe, the bustling capital of the New Mexico Territory. After selling his season's worth of furs, he did what many trappers did. He enjoyed what we might politely call a grand fling in the capital city. Such celebrations often ended the same way, with empty pockets and a need for winter shelter. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another lost gold story. If you would like to help support my channel and time, hit the super thanks heart icon on the bottom of the video and contribute. This is very helpful. Relax and enjoy. But Pierre was different from the typical broke trapper. When he took shelter in a small New Mexican village for the winter, he carried with him something that would change many lives, a piece of gold-laden quartz that hinted at unimaginable riches. Throughout those cold months, Pierre became a familiar sight in the village, showing his precious specimen to anyone who would look, a piece of quartz shot through with veinlets and masses of pure yellow gold. "I tell you it is there, senors," he would say, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Enough for all of us. A wide vein rich enough in gold to work with the Arastra. A few weeks and we will live like kings." His tales fell on eager ears, particularly those of Juan Sanchez and other villagers who carried the proud blood of Spanish conquistadors in their veins. For these Spanish-American settlers, Pierre's stories resonated with centuries-old legends of lost mines and hidden riches. The promise of gold proved irresistible. Despite very real concerns about hostile Native Americans in the territory, a group of 28 horsemen assembled, along with 30 pack animals to carry provisions, and, they hoped, their future riches. The scale of the expedition was impressive, but it also left their village vulnerable. Only the old men, women, and children remained behind to tend the fields. If the expedition failed, the coming winter would be harsh indeed. These weren't ordinary travelers, but skilled horsemen mounted on fine steeds descended from the Arabians brought by the conquistadors. Though their clothing might have been ragged, they were well armed, a necessary precaution in the dangerous territory they would traverse. Their journey took them through the changing landscapes of the Southwest. They started in sage flats dotted with pinyon and cedar, moved through desert country, and eventually entered forests of yellow pine. Game was plentiful, mountain streams provided water, and initially the journey seemed blessed with good fortune. Pierre led them confidently, though he took care to skirt the edges of the San Juan Mountains through the desert country when possible. But their luck would change dramatically. After many days of travel, Pierre led them to a low, sage-covered mesa overlooking a wide valley. From their vantage point, he spotted numerous wisps of smoke rising through the pine forest below, clear signs of a large Native American encampment. This discovery forced them to take a more treacherous route through the ridges, fighting their way through snow and cross canyons for 3 demanding days. Finally, they reached their destination, a wide bench of grassland along the river, and there, in a narrow canyon above their camp, they found exactly what Pierre had promised, a quartz vein intersecting the canyon walls, with visible gold that could be seen without even digging. The men quickly established a permanent camp and built a primitive ore-crushing mill near the river. Days turned into months as they extracted more and more gold. The vein would narrow and widen, as gold veins often do, but their store of precious metal grew steadily. Game remained plentiful, life was good, but there was always an undercurrent of tension. They knew they weren't alone in that valley. Meanwhile, in a meadow above what we now call the upper Animas River Valley, a Ute chief was receiving troubling reports from his scouts. The chief had heard stories of white men coming to southern valleys, initially searching for gold but ultimately staying to plunder Indian villages, steal their women, and drive the native people from their ancestral homes during harsh winters. Though these southern tribes weren't friends of the Utes, the chief recognized the pattern and made a fateful decision. The white men shall not leave this valley. Nature itself would soon force the miners' hand. A sudden heavy snowstorm on the ridges above made their original route impassable. With winter approaching, they had no choice but to attempt to leave through the valley. They packed their gold, now filling numerous buckskin sacks, onto their animals and began their journey out. The expedition made it as far as a small hill surrounded by yellow pine forest. They made camp, hobbling their horses in a nearby meadow. But when the morning fog cleared, every single horse was gone. 5 men went to search for them. They were never seen again. The remaining men knew exactly what this meant. The Utes had made their move. Trapped on the hill without water, the men made a crucial decision. They dug a large hole and buried their hard-won treasure, dozens of buckskin sacks filled with gold, including rough lumps as large as a man's hand. They covered it carefully with dirt, pine needles, and brush. Then, carrying what provisions they could, they split up and attempted to escape. Of all those men, only Pierre and Juan survived to reach their village. The fate of their companions remains unknown to this day, though the presence of numerous Ute warriors in the valley leaves little doubt about their likely end. The story might have been lost to history, but in 1899, a Spanish-American named Pedro Giron met an elderly Pierre in a New Mexico village. Pierre was old and broken by then, never having recovered from the hardships of that escape. He had never returned to the valley, his appetite for adventure completely gone. But he shared every detail with young Pedro, the route they'd taken, the landmarks along the way, the location of the hill where they'd buried the gold. Pedro became convinced that the location was in the Animas River Valley of southwestern Colorado. The combination of features Pierre described, the wide valley, hot springs, and red cliffs, matched perfectly. Pedro even believed he'd found evidence of the camp in the canyon above, though time and nature had taken their toll. A narrow-gauge railroad built through the canyon in the late 1800s may have erased many of the remaining signs. Pedro Giron worked as a section foreman on that very railroad, spending his free time fishing in the area where he believed the mine was located. He carried the secret until his death in a car accident, having shared the details with only a few trusted individuals. While many local versions of ill-fated Spanish expeditions and buried treasure exist in the San Juan area, Pedro may have been the last person alive to have spoken with an actual member of this particular expedition. To this day, the cache of gold remains undiscovered, as does the mine from which it came. Somewhere in the upper Animas River valley, beneath decades of natural debris or carefully concealed by those long-ago Native Americans, a fortune in gold may still be waiting. It's a reminder of the countless stories of adventure, tragedy, and buried treasure that lie scattered throughout the American West. Some pure fiction, but others, like this one, rooted in historical fact. The story of the lost Animas gold mine is more than just a tale of buried treasure. It's a window into a pivotal time in American history, when different cultures and ways of life collided in the rugged Southwest. It reminds us of the human cost of the search for riches, and perhaps explains why such stories continue to captivate us today. After all, somewhere in those mountains a fortune still waits to be found. I hope you enjoyed this tale of lost gold and frontier adventure. Until next time, this is Southwest Desert, reminding you that the greatest treasures often lie in the stories themselves. Happy trails. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.